Shuttle TV.
We didn't know anything going on in the world. We didn't have any means of communication. We didn't understand why we were there.
They basically treated us like animals.
The words written there were, "Dear God, please allow me to experience happiness one more time during my life."
We became the story, and that was absolutely never our intention.
My name is Rudy Rochman. I'm a Jewish and Israel rights activist, and I'm also the executive producer and host of the We Were Never Lost documentary series. It's a series that is set to tell the stories, struggles, and aspirations of lesser known or disconnected communities of Jews around the world. Our first season is to take place in Africa, and we were just in Nigeria filming our first episode. Unfortunately, after 2 days, we were illegally held by the Nigerian government's internal security service and held in cages for 3 weeks. We're here to set the record straight of what we went through and what actually happened.
My name is David Benaim. I'm a journalist and I'm a field producer and producer on the We Were Never Lost series.
I'm Noam Liebman of Kavanagh Films and the creative director for We Were Never Lost. So first you may need a bit of context to understand who the Igbos are and why we went to Nigeria in the first place.
Now, the Igbo people are a people with a rich history, diversity, and a lot of culture, and have very similar experiences that other Jewish communities have had around the world that are known in the mainstream, whether it's through persecution or overcoming challenges. They believe to be descendants of a tribe of Israel, specifically of Gad. There is a large community within the Igbo population that has either preserved elements of their Jewish culture, their Jewish heritage, or has come back to their Jewish culture and heritage. And some of them are even now second generation born, where all they know is being Jewish. And we were coming to Nigeria to document specifically their stories. Where do they come from? What have they experienced? What is their history? What are their aspirations? What are their culture? Do they want to stay living in Nigeria? Do they want to come back to Israel? What is their story? And that's why we came to Nigeria.
Okay, so starting from the beginning, we arrived in Nigeria and spent the first 2 days filming in a village called Ogidi.
The amazing community that welcomed us with open arms, like cooked us food and introduced us to their way of living their Jewish life, the way they were praying every single morning.
Even though we only had 2 days, we got to experience how charismatic, intelligent, hardworking, and knowledgeable in Torah that this community is. At the end of our second day of filming, we were notified that there were some online posts going viral that had used images of us. We could see that they had completely fabricated stories, calling us Mossad agents,
associating us to a movement that is seeking to liberate Biafra and to fight against the Nigerian government, which of course we had nothing to do with.
Some agents in Israel have arrived. They are here to indeed restore the Biafra nation.
Before the British Empire had come and colonized Nigeria, the Igbo people were an autonomous population in their own lands, and when the British came, they united the different ethnic groups and tribal regions, from the Yoruba to the Hausa and Fulani, and also the Igbo population. Around the 60s, there was a Biafra War, which was a war of independence for the Igbo in the southeastern region of Nigeria. They were independent for a few years. Millions of people were killed and starved to death during that war, and eventually they lost and became part of Nigeria again. Afterwards, there was a lot of tension and bad blood between the communities, and the Hausa Fulani, which are the majority and those that are always in power, have been discriminating the Igbo population, and since then there are still movements that seek to separate from the rest of Nigeria. Now, apart from this political movement to achieve self-determination for the Igbo people, the reality is that the vast majority of the Igbos have nothing to do with fighting or physically pushing for the liberation of Biafra and are normal people living within Nigeria.
These bloggers had seen we were bringing a Sefer Torah as a gift to the youth community and proceeded to make a fake claim that our efforts were connected to the separatist movement and that when a Torah arrives, it's a sign of their movement. This claim doesn't even make sense because there are already several Sefer Torahs throughout the region.
The DSS decided to get involved. The DSS is the Secret Service, the Interior Defense of Nigeria.
They show up at our hotel at 7 a.m. Friday morning with about 10 heavily armed men in black ski masks and tell us that we need to come with them.
They took our phones, they took our passports, and they took our freedom for the following 20 days.
Of course, we were coming in with no bad intentions, and we were innocent the entire time, so we didn't think much of it. We thought that we'd just come in for an hour, answer some questions, we'd show them what we're about and what we were planning to do, and that would be able to continue and to proceed with the project. Eventually, they started taking us one by one and interrogating us in ways that they would just accuse us when asking a question of us being there for malicious reasons. Of course, we had nothing to hide, so we all answered with the truth that our project had nothing to do with any sort of political movement, that we were there to document the beautiful lives and the culture of the Igbo Jewish community in Nigeria. So it's Friday night, and we've realized at this point that we're not going to be able to get out and do Shabbat where we had planned to do. We're in a holding cell and everyone's leaving for the weekend, and we wanted to do Shabbat, but we had no grape juice or wine. So we did the Kiddush over a grape that we found and the motzi over some crackers that we had. And this is how we spent our first Shabbat in Nigeria.
Now, Rudy, David, and I know that we have embassies of 3 very powerful countries willing to fight for us, but this is not the case for Nigerians who get arrested. There was a non-Igbo man initially taken into custody with us, and when he asked our captors not to yell at us, the interrogator threatened him by saying, "I can make you disappear." This is the type of abuse of power we witness firsthand, and the realization that there's just no accountability for this injustice.
24 hours later, in the morning at 7 a.m. after sleeping on the floor, we were rushed into a van.
They did not want to tell us where we would be. They did not want to tell us where we would go. They just said, get in the car. The drive was horrendous, very dangerous, driving extremely fast, almost intentionally trying to sort of intimidate people by driving in their directions in order for them to be afraid. A lot of us were afraid for our lives.
We had no clue if the world knew that we were taken. We could not communicate with anyone.
After 9 hours of non-stop dangerous driving, we were dropped off at the DSS headquarters in Abuja and brought to a caged holding cell.
And when we say cage, we mean literally a cage. It was a circular room that you can maybe take 3 or 4 steps in each direction behind bars.
And then we asked our captors, "Are we under arrest?" They said no. "Are we being detained?" They say no. So we tell them we refuse to willingly enter this cage. For about 20 minutes, they stood around not knowing what to do because they didn't have the authority to put their hands on us. Eventually, another officer comes in, screaming at his men that they're embarrassing him, and orders them to physically throw us in the cage.
First 5 nights, we didn't have lights, we didn't have AC, it was dark, it was hot.
No furniture, no beds, we're forced to sleep on the tile floor.
We were sweating, there were bugs, there were bottles of urine all over, it smelled very bad.
Shuttle TV, news, sports, and entertainment.